Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Super Son Goku Ultra Instinct Sign Event Exclusive Color Edition, which, I want to point out, Event Exclusive Color Edition. We have not had this figure previously. How is it a color edition of a figure we haven't yet had? Which leads me to think, maybe, just maybe, there's going to be another color version, which is the regular release, which is not event exclusive. Just a hunch. It seems odd to have that nomenclature when we have not yet received this figure in a different color scheme. We'll see. I don't know how much they could change it really, but who knows. Anyway, I finally did get around to watching Dragon Ball Super in its entirety, and I was most looking forward to a figure of this particular look for Goku. I love the blue tank top with the black hair and the yellow pants, or orange pants. It looks really good. I don't remember it ever being called Ultra Instinct Sign, but I only watched the American version, so I don't know. Anyway, this figure is pretty darn good. It may be, don't hold me to, well, you can hold me to it, it's okay. It may be the best looking Goku figure in terms of accuracy and proportions that we have gotten from them yet. The best, possibly the best yet. There are a few flaws, we're going to talk about all of it, but definitely some good stuff. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 5.5 inches to the top of his head, not counting his hair, which makes him pretty close. And when I say that, by the way, I mean like where his cranium would be, not like where the hairline is. And that's going to make him pretty close to, let's just say 14 centimeters. It's your standard Goku. We don't really need to... There's been so many Gokus now. It used to be there were only one or two, and I had to compare things. It's the same freaking thing, guys. It's all in scale, relatively speaking, for the regular human type or Saiyan type characters. We don't need to compare. It's the same size. And all my stuff's packed up anyway, but it is the same size as before. But look at that. It is just so well proportioned. That looks like it came out of the screen. It looks so nice. Very, very well done, Bandai. Very, very nicely done. We have some shading throughout the pants. It's not as purposeful as I would like. This leg is lighter than this leg because this one got hit with a bigger swath of shading. This part right here is a little darker, you know, things like that. But it is there and it's gonna look nice, and once you pose them you won't notice the inconsistencies other than the back part has virtually none. That's always a little bit irksome, but it's still okay. I don't see any shading on the skin. Definitely would have preferred that, but it's not a huge deal. I can't tell if there's shading on the blue, but it doesn't really matter because it's super duper dark. One thing that does bug me a little bit is this part up here in his skin is painted, and in this scratch mark, his battle damage if you will, I can see a little bit of blue poking through. That's a little bothersome, but again, it's a very minor issue, so no big deal there. Otherwise, the paints are really clean. I think the face, let's zoom in this way again. That might just be the best Goku face to date. All of the ones on this particular release. It's so good. It's so good. It's got to be the best one yet. They've gotten better and better, and they've had a few missteps, but this one is just... Holy macaroni. This is easily the best looking one, from my opinion, in my perspective, that I can think of at least, that they've released. And it probably is objectively, just based on how accurate that looks. So good. And then the hair, by the way, is not just glossy black. It is actually metallic. It's really, it's the bee's knees. When I first got this figure and I looked through the window, I was like, that hair just looks glossy and I'm a little bit bummed out. But then when the lights hit it, it sparkled and it looks fantastic. Very, very nicely done. I am smitten. It looks great. It's such a good looking figure for Goku. Aesthetically speaking, 9.5 out of 10. Better shading would have been good. This issue not being as much of an issue would have been good, but it is just so well executed. Fantastic. There's one other thing I'll show you that's a bonus benefit for the aesthetic when we get to the articulation. But first, let's talk about the accessories. We have the neutral face that comes on him in the package, a little bit frowny, I guess. Then we have the one with his eyes closed. Then we have the one where his teeth are showing. And then we have the one where he's yelling. Those all look wonderful. Very nicely done. We do have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, 2 martial arts hands, 2 grippy hands, and then 2 wide open hands. No instant transmission. Do we technically need it? Probably not, but I'd like to have it anyway because it's not that hard. They've already got the molds made. They could pop them in the package and it would have been added value. Also, no karate chop type of hands. These kind of things are things I would have liked, especially since we have no energy effect of any kind. Without either of those things, we are looking a little sparse for accessories. I'm only going to give it for Figuarts standards, for SH Figuarts standards, I'm only going to give this one a 7 out of 10, which is still, like, 4 faces and a bunch of hands, it's still plenty. But there are hands we could have had for virtually no cost to them, and then energy effects of some variety would have also been wonderful. Still, it's a decent batch of accessories. Just by their high standards, it could have been more. Hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Okay, as for the articulation, let's pop the head. Well, let's just open the head and see what we have. I know what we have, but I want to show you what we have. Goodness. It's really in there. That's what she said. Okay, come on out. It's not coming off. Can I just do this? The head doesn't want to pop off either. There we go. Okay, that's off. Let's pull the face out. We're back to having this issue. And I also want to point out one thing. This is why I really wanted to take the face off. What do you notice? Hopefully you notice. If you don't notice this, we have issues, guys. It's clear. It's transparent plastic that they made the hair out of. It's not such that, let me put it up to the light. Yeah, you can't see, there's no light being transmitted through the plastic up here, but it is transparent plastic, which is a little bit weird. I'm not sure why they chose that, because like I said, you can put a bright light right behind it and you're not going to see anything through it, but it is transparent plastic. Interesting. Old type of ball hinge, not double ball peg, definitely limited. It'll be good enough for Goku, but you're going to have less range than you would have otherwise had, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it's okay. As far as the neck itself, you have your ball peg down there and it seems to work just fine. You're not going to have any trouble posing this guy, other than it's finicky more than it would be with a double ball peg. So that's perfectly okay, no issues there. For the shoulders, we have our butterfly joint, and this is what I wanted to point out. They actually made everything the dark blue. I've been asking them to make their butterfly joints the same color as the clothing for a long time. They finally did. And that's a good thing. You do get a little bit of flesh tone poking through, of course, where the arm is, because this is still not an ideal situation where you have the floaty cap, the floaty sleeve, but it looks okay when it's not out of whack, so that's fine. So you do get the butterfly joint, which isn't incredibly useful, honestly, because it's so far recessed you still can't bring the arm across the chest. It needs to be a lot bigger and farther out for it to work, so it's kind of useless. It doesn't hurt anything, but it is kind of useless. And then the shoulder does still have the hinge. Can't raise the arm very well though, so that's a bummer. And this is one of the issues I wanted to point out. The way this sleeve is sculpted, and then the way this sits in there, it does hunch the arms a little bit farther forward. You can't bring them any farther back on his torso. So that's definitely an aesthetic issue that's not as big of a deal as it is a functional issue. You just can't really pose him the way you want to pose him. You cannot raise his arm out to the side. You can't bring the arm back really in a functional way other than rotating it. So it's a little bit more limited than I would like up here, for sure. Definitely could be better. They have the technology. We've seen it tons of times before. They just haven't done a great job implementing it here. But otherwise, you're going to be able to pose the arm plenty. It's still a ball peg and a ball hinge. You just are going to have some limitations going up and back. Bicep swivel is fine. Elbows are all, I mean, it's all standard for the most part. This part's a little bit unique. That's why we spent some time on it. Ball hinge wrists, that's all fine. Torso joint, it should be the same as all the other ones, but let's check. Yeah, we still have our hinge and our ball peg combination. Mine doesn't seem to want to lean forward all that far, even using the hinge. So you guys can let me know if you have better hinging than I have, but it seems pretty limited there. Side to side is good. Rotation is good. This is floating. Again, this is all pretty much standard. I just kind of wanted to touch on the important new stuff more. Full front and back, that's fine. Going out to the side, we definitely have some capping issues where the caps are bumping up against the legs and I can't quite get things to go. This one tucked under very nicely. You can see that, like right there. This one, it doesn't wanna. So you guys can let me know again if yours has better range than that. Mine does not want to work. This floating cap is just getting in the way too much, so that's a little bit of a bummer. You do get your thigh swivel. Double jointed knee works nicely, looks good. The knee's a little bit pale, honestly. The knee and the leg part over here, not quite the right color. I don't think anybody's gonna really notice that, but it is worth mentioning. And the knee joint works fine on this side too. For the ankles, we still have our double ball peg, which is definitely less than ideal, but it will get the job done. If you need to bring the foot forward, it's pretty limited. You have your toe hinge, but toe hinges kind of suck. So you can bring the foot back and then you can lean it, but it's still a very limited ankle joint. That's really the next step for them, I think, is to get the ankle joints and the knees worked out a little bit better, but It's not the best example of their articulation. It's a really good looking figure, but the articulation is fairly average, honestly, for this guy. So I'll give it a 7 for the articulation. And now it's time for the final verdict. This guy's shining moment is really the aesthetic. It looks really good, and especially if you get a good batch of shading on the legs, it's going to look even better. His articulation's fine, but there are definitely some missteps, and the accessories, again, plenty for any normal standards, but for a figure art standard, especially a figure like this, it would have been nice for a little bit more because it is fairly basic. So it depends what you're gonna want out of the figure the most. Aesthetics wise, you're aces. Everything else is good for figure arts, but nothing special. So final verdict on this guy is gonna be I gotta go 8. 8 seems like the spot for this guy. If everything was as good as the aesthetic, it'd be much higher. You could argue 9, but I'm going to go with 8, I think. Limited accessories, limited range in some of the joints. Excellent aesthetic. I still love, like, for me personally, I love it, but objectively, it's probably 8 is good enough. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think about all of these things in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you probably don't want to. And I'll see you no, you should, because I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.